What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
This is Motivation Monday. We're going to be talking about why you're failing at fat loss, body recomposition secrets, tracking while eating out, and prepping for a newborn. So you got a killer episode in front of you today. And as always, the best way to get motivated is by answering our main question of the day. And the main question is, and it's a big one, how can I lose fat and gain muscle at the same time? So I would say this is most people's goal because it's a lot more fun to be able to do both things at once. It's a lot less sexy to be like, oh, I'm just doing a bulk, I'm putting on some muscle, but I'm gaining fat. It's also a lot less sexy knowing you're losing weight, but perhaps taking away some of your muscle. So oftentimes we'll get this question, is it even possible? And the jury was out on this one for a while. A lot of people seem to think you needed to be in one phase or the other, but this just is plain not true. You can absolutely do both at the same time, although it does require a little bit more control for a lot of your factors. So when you're wanting to do both, it really depends at your starting point. So this is something we often deem a body recomposition. So if you're someone who is ultra skinny, this wouldn't really apply to you because you'd probably just want to bulk, put on some size, maybe you'd want to maintain your leanness. But if you're in that position where maybe you have a little bit more fat than you'd like on your stomach, extra fat around your back, on your legs, and you don't show as much muscle, maybe even you're as far as to say that you're skinny fat, this is a great opportunity for you. So what you're actually going to want to do is be in a deficit or just below maintenance, which is still a deficit, but you don't want to be in a heightened deficit. So you don't want to be losing a ton of weight. You want to be losing a very moderate amount of weight, maybe 0.25 upwards to about a pound a week at most. And within this, you're going to want to increase your training intensity and or volume. And this can be done by either doing a better routine, spending more time in the gym, increasing the amount and frequency you do. So if you're normally doing about 16 sets of volume, you could bump this up to 18. If you're only going 4 times, you can improve frequency by going 5 times. There are a lot of different ways you can manipulate this where you can actually shock your muscles beyond that dedicated routine and actually produce more muscular growth. And now you're going to put on less muscle than you would if you were in a surplus, but you can still absolutely put on muscle. And you will find that this effect is most pronounced if you are more of a newbie lifter. For how long I've been lifting, I will get a lot more reward from doing a dedicated cut or bulking phase. But I would say for 90% of people who are listening to this podcast, you'll have no issue at all doing this. And what tips do you have, Kyle, to make this happen?
Yeah, I'm going to have to start off by just saying you want to be as consistent as possible. So I'd say most people who are looking to do a body recomp, they end up flip-flopping a lot. So one week they're cutting, the next week they maybe feel a little bit skinny. So then they start to kind of eat a little bit more. And then sometimes they feel a little bit fluffy and then they decrease. So you just have to really trust the process and stick with it. Now, the biggest thing I'm going to have to say on this whole approach is it is a very finicky process. So it's very, very challenging, especially when you're doing it by yourself. And the main reason is because, as I was just talking about what people do, it can be emotionally challenging. So if you just fully commit to a shred and you're like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and you start to see the weight go down, you start to see progress, you know, okay, hey, it's working. And same with the bulking phase, it can be the same. Whereas the body recomp, we have to look at a lot of different things such as measurements. So as your coach, we take a full deep dive to see how your measurements are, how your overall training volume would be, how your photos are, how the scale's looking, and just a couple other metrics as well. Doesn't take much time on your end. We just do all the hard work behind the scenes. So I would really say that get some solid support on your side. I know it sounds like a simple tip, but I see most people who say, hey, I'm looking to lose fat and build muscle. When we check in with them and they try on their own, they end up struggling and failing. And that's going to be one of my most important tips. But past that, it's just the training will be where you can make a lot of progress. And I think most people, especially when you look at who can actually do a body recomp, most people are new to strength training or they actually haven't strength trained properly. So for example, if you've been in the gym for years, on and off, maybe not doing compounds, maybe not pushing intensity, this is a great tool for you to utilize because you haven't been doing things properly. And when you start to, you can see some incredible progress. Like Josh said, if you're a complete beginner, you'll do some incredible things, much more incredible than I will ever do in terms of body recomp after lifting for over 10 years. So I just say go all in. And the other thing to consider is know which one's a bit more of your priority. So this can help you dictate your calories. So if you're like, you want to gain a bit more muscle and that's a little bit more of a goal of yours, you may want to be around the maintenance for calories. So let's say you're at 2,500 calories and you don't lose or gain weight, you might want to be in that end. If you're in a bit of your goal is to shred more and like you want to lean out more than bulk up, then that will dictate like the range of calories. But you have to be in that slight deficit or around maintenance. If you're just in a big surplus, you're just going to end up gaining a lot of fat, a lot of weight. And yeah, hopefully that helps you out. And of course, we're always here to support you. It's something we specialize in because we found that most people who reach out to us want to do a body recomp. So all you have to do if you want to get part of our case study, our body recomposition case study, is message us body recomp to Instagram at colossusfit, colossusfit. I promise you we'll save you time, money, and energy, and we can't wait to help some of you people out.
Yeah, Kyle nailed it. And if you're failing at losing fat or you're failing at losing muscle, or more importantly, you're failing at doing both at the same time, so much of it, like just to summarize, comes down to the optimization. So it's been a while. I've mentioned the stool with the 3 seats. So if you think of a stool with 3 legs, you'll be able to sit on that stool comfortably and with trust. You take away a leg, it's shaky. You take away 2, you fall on your butt. And a good journey and an optimized journey, and when you want to get extreme results, like if you think of top athletes, like the best sprinter in the world sprints no differently than me. They just do it way more efficiently. Everything is technical. They've trained it. They've drilled it. Everything they do is optimized towards it, and that's what makes them elite. So if you want elite results, you need to have elite actions, and your actions truly need to reflect that. So you need to remove things like those unnecessary days where you just eat garbage, those days where or those weeks where you don't get in the gym very often. You need to become hyper consistent, and then you also need to do things more intelligently. I know people that are doing everything right, consistency's there, but their program just frankly sucks. Their intensity sucks. They're doing all the wrong exercises. They're approaching nutrition all wrong, and they end up like losing muscle and not actually losing any fat. And they just end up in this weird spot where they're really de-optimized from an effective routine. And like our entire coaching encompasses around building you a better nutrition plan so you can have your favorite foods and enjoy them, understanding macronutrients and how they affect you, progressively making changes to make sure you're on path to your journey and you're not dying of starvation. Then routine-wise, like I said, managing volume, making sure your routine is periodized, making sure we're achieving appropriate hypertrophy and we're reflecting what your physique needs. Every person is different. You shouldn't just be on someone's routine because they're quote unquote on a good routine. You need a routine that's made for you, for your strengths, your weaknesses, your backgrounds. I mentioned last week I hurt my shoulder. If I just jump and do Kyle's routine, I'm going to be in a bad spot. I'm going to have to pay extra attention to that for a bit. And phasing of your journey is very much like this. You need to identify like, what do I need to focus in on? And that's why in a coaching basis, we break it down, usually programming into 3-month blocks. We'll break down nutrition programming into week-to-week blocks. And then constantly as your coach will monitor these things day after day. And then of course you need to see them through and be consistent to get that result. So that ultimately is what it comes down to if you're looking to do both at the same time. And I find a big barrier as well when people are dieting is strength-based. So a lot of people when they're dieting, they just expect to get weaker. And this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So this is something you want to avoid. We actually did a YouTube series a while back called Shredded Strength, where we actually proved we could get really lean, shred a ton of fat, get stronger than ever, and compete in a powerlifting competition to show it. But I have clients and I know people that will say, I'm cutting and I'm losing all my strength. And I'm like, challenge that mindset. In your head, say, no, I refuse to gain strength. I'm going to maintain it or gain more. Keep that mindset, have that intention, really drive forward with intention, focus, and purpose, and those results will come. All right, so now you know the secret on how to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into our quotes. And I'm going to kick it off because I really like my quote this week. So my quote this week is, you're not here to check a box, you're here to make a difference. And this is from my boy, Gregg Plit. And I actually shared this in our broadcast channel on our Instagram. We're always pumping out our Instagram because we like to add a ton of value there. Also, we got a $100 Starbucks gift card giveaway going on right now. So if you want to enter that, that'll be the first link down below the opportunity to get started with the Body Recomp special. So if you want to win $100 to Starbucks, there probably won't be a ton of entries. So you got pretty good odds. All you got to do is follow us, like the post, and just tag a friend on that post so we'll know you entered. We're going to randomly select someone from that and you'll have the opportunity to get $100 to Starbucks. So why not? But in my broadcast channel, I shared this and I shared my mindset towards it because I think it's very easy just to go through the checkbox mentality. I need to go to the gym. I'm just going to go there. I'm going to check that box, get it done. But instead, if you're like, my time in the gym is I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to put on muscle. I'm here to get stronger. I'm here to take a breath away from everything else and be intentional and focused. I'm here to have my meditative lifting session. Like when you reframe it and you really understand what you're doing it for, it makes you appreciate it way more. And I've used the analogy before. I remember when I worked at a gym and there was a gentleman there who volunteered and he would clean up the weights so perfectly and do it with just intention and care. And I'm like, man, it's really impressive how well you do this. And he said, hey, I've been told anything you do, do it right. And that really stuck with me too. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to appreciate some of the minutia and not just rush to get it done. Be like, oh, I'm just going to film a podcast and put something out. Like me and Kyle never do that. We make sure we're dialed. Our intention is there. Our notes are in. Our mindset is right because we know this gives us the opportunity to motivate you to do more, to encourage you to grow and become fitter, healthier, and happier. And like that ultimately what it's all about. And I find a lot of people get in this trap with the gym where they just check this box and they really don't optimize for what they can actually achieve while they're in there. So when you're in the gym, be there with intention. Maybe put the phone on airplane mode. Take some time to really think through it. Maximize mind-muscle connection. Get crazy contractions. Get a killer pump. Really challenge yourself. So I love that quote. It really stuck with me. And that is my quote for this week.
That quote hit me pretty hard because I definitely have been guilty of this in the past where I would just like write a list of things like a to-do list and it would just be like, I don't really even think about what I'm doing. It's just like, oh, I've got to do it. And sometimes it'd be done poorly. And I just think that's such a bad mindset. And I know a lot of people do this as well. And it's kind of like busy work, right? And I know a lot of people who are like so busy, but they're just kind of doing random stuff. And then you kind of feel fulfilled, but you didn't really make a difference. You didn't really move the needle. And we want to do stuff that moves the needle. And that was awesome and well said. My quote here is, the more you pay, the more you pay attention. So this has been sticking with me. It's kind of like a bit more of a business type quote, but I think it applies to pretty much everything we do. And I, once again, can be guilty of this where it's like, if I know something is free or it's just like, in front of me and it's just like, it's going to always be there. It's an opportunity. You're like, whatever. Like you're not going to want to use it. Whereas when you invest in yourself, you want to make the most of it. So even as an example, we wrapped up our 30-day challenge, which is incredible. We had well over 50 people complete it. They're all paid coaching clients and they absolutely crushed it. The transformations were insane. The habits, everything they did was incredible because they're like, hey, I'm in this program. I want to make the most of it. For the free challenge that we did, it sounded like from following up with quite a few people, there just wasn't as much execution. And like I said, it's just the things that are free, the things that are just kind of, you don't value them as much. So what I will say is if you ever are struggling on your journey, if you do have some sort of investment, even if it's like a promise to yourself or something where you may have to send someone some sort of money if you don't reach a goal, obviously hiring a coach, I'll say 100 times over because that's what we do. And we've helped over 4,500 people. But, when you have some sort of investment involved, it makes such a big difference. Like, let's say you happen to sign up for some sort of course, you spend a couple $100, you're going to study, you're going to put in that work, you're going to make the most of it. But if it's like, hey, there's this YouTube course, you probably won't make it through very far or you won't take it as seriously. So I always have to think about this, even if I need to execute. I'm like, all right, same with the gym membership. I'm like, I'm paying for this. I'm going to make the most of it. So the more you pay, the more you pay attention, invest in yourself. It's always worth it.
Yeah, I'm listening to a book currently, No Excuses by Brian Tracy. It's available for free on Spotify Premium. So if you have that, I'd recommend it. It's a really great book. It's an older book, but lots of knowledge in there. And he mentioned how one individual, I believe it was 2%. So he spent 2% of his salary each year on his self-growth, on investing in himself. And he noticed when he did this, his income grew exponentially. So he made a goal of 5% and then eventually 10%. And apparently he was making like a ridiculous amount of money. And he said he needed to start spending early to actually be able to hit that goal of spending that 10% each year. And I know that sounds crazy, but ultimately, and I've found this time and time again, anytime I've cheaped out and not invested in myself, I've regretted it. Like I said, if I hired a fitness coach when I started, I would have made years of progress ahead. I would have saved myself a ton of trouble. I would have learned things the right way, and I would have even been that much further ahead now. And I just wish I did that. And it's so easy to have this pride to be like, I don't need it. I don't need coach. I don't need anything. And even recently, forget his name, I Will Teach You to Be Rich guy, Kyle likes him, Ramit, I believe, he mentioned how he has an unlimited budget on books. He doesn't care what a book costs, he'll spend unlimited money. And I know some of you are cringing and you're like, hey, times are tight. I don't have time to spend 10% of my salary or spend unlimited money on books. But that's not what I'm saying to do. What I'm saying is to actually invest in yourself, invest in your growth and your knowledge, because these are the things that compound even more than just the simple financials of it. And often it's the last thing we'll do. We'll buy nice clothes, we'll go to nice dinners, we'll do these fancy vacations, but not many people actually invest in their self-growth. When myself and Kyle really changed our attitude towards that and we spent more money, really made us take things serious. And we're like, how can we grow our business? How can we have more impact on our podcast? How can we get better equipment? And it's just every time we're like, oh, why did we not do this earlier? And we really regretted it. So I love this one because investing in yourself always pays. And like, I'm not saying you need to do some crazy, massive, expensive investment, but even start by buying a book, buying an audiobook, signing up for coaching with us, like do something to get moving. And like, that's going to transfer so far. We have people sign up with us for our coaching. They see amazing results in their fitness. They have more energy. They're playing and spending more time with their kids. They're saving money on food. They're getting promotions at work because you start to be like, wow, I'm capable of doing things. I can progress forward. I have more energy. I have more focus. So it's real easy just to say, that's not for me. I don't have the money for that. But if you make that a priority, that's a big one. And that was a great transition into some of my thoughts. And one other thought I wanted to share that I really enjoyed that I heard yesterday, it really just hit me. Also shared this in the broadcast channel. And if you're wondering what that is, when you go to our Instagram, you can click, like we have a little community there. I think there's almost 1,000 people in it, a little bit under. And we'll just send out some fire. It's like a little mini private DM just with us. So you can sign up for that. But so here's what I had. Everyone says discipline is so important, but no one will tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's the strongest form of self-love. It's ignoring something you want right now for something you want later on. Discipline reveals the commitment you have towards your dreams. The future you is depending on the current you to keep the promises you made to yourself yesterday. And I love this because it's just so easy day after day to get fired up, not execute on it. Set some amazing goals, do it, and then one day you don't feel like it and you fall off. But discipline is that self-love because it's showing I am serious about my goals. This is a priority for me. All the time I'll hear people say I want to lose weight, but they won't take any action or make any sacrifice to make that happen. Or they'll want to get stronger, or they'll want to achieve a transformation. And me and Kyle will be there with open arms and be like, I got you. Like, I'll do all the hard work. It's fully guaranteed your money back. And people will be like, nah. And like, unfortunately, you're just telling yourself that isn't a priority for you. You're not serious about it. So when I saw this, I'm like, wow, this really fires me up. And even with my shoulder, quick update, it's getting better. It's healing slowly but surely. I'm doing all my physio, and it's so easy to want to be lazy with it, to be like, I did it once today, good enough. And it's funny, and I'm like, no, I owe myself this commitment where I said I'm going to heal as quick as I can, and I make a point to do that. I make a point to get to bed early. I make a point to do everything I can to be intelligent to make sure I'm healing as fast as possible, and that is that form of self-love. So you need to ask yourself, like, are you actually taking your goals seriously? Or do you actually have commitment towards them? Or are they just things you say and you don't execute on?
Very, very well said. And even like you'll see behind me, I've put up the banner that I have, discipline equals freedom. If you're watching on YouTube, I love that because I'm a big fan of like anything discipline related. And what Josh mentioned there, like just got me thinking about the quote, when you look for excuses, you'll find excuses. When you look for solutions, you'll find it. So I thought about it this past week of how he was back in the gym within a few days, hitting quads, hitting hamstrings, doing single leg hamstring curls, quad work, doing his his rehab exercises and all that stuff. And I shared this on the story last week. It was just kind of a real talk because I see a lot of people like foaming at the mouth and getting so excited at any opportunity to just be like, I don't have to go anymore. Like, I've got to recover for the next month or 2 months or whatever it is. So just a reminder, like you have to have that discipline to keep up with that habit, even if it's to a lesser degree. Is he coming in and bench pressing with me? Absolutely not. But he's still showing up. And even today was one of those days where before this podcast, I was like, I'm going to get my workout in, kind of got some appointments, everything going on. We're heading to Florida tomorrow at 4 a.m. So just kind of cramming some things in. And I'm like, it wasn't a record-breaking workout, but I showed up, and that was the most important thing, and that's because it was a priority. So, it's easy if, like, I know some people have a busy day, and it's just like, yes, like, I don't have to go to the gym, I don't have to eat healthy because I'm on the road, which we're going to be talking about in just a bit. But yeah, just the more that you look for those solutions, the more you'll find them, the better results you have, and it's a very simple formula for overall success.
So yeah, that's where we're at. Killer content is going to be coming in Florida, escaping some of the snow here, and we're really planning to buckle down. And even we've been posting like 2 reels a day. Got that Starbucks giveaway. So I know I say it a lot, but why not get value? And if you're looking at nonsense on Instagram all day anyways, why not get some extra value from me and Kyle, where we'll actually inspire you and encourage you to be fitter, healthier, and happier. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into our client shout-out. Someone who is struggling, who said, I'm worth the investment, and let's hear about the results they got.
Yeah, so today we are shouting out Mike, and Mike has lost over 20 pounds. The biggest metric to consider is that he's lost 6.5 inches off the waist. He's stronger, he's more muscular, he's leaner, more energetic, and his clothes are fitting different. And this is obviously on par with the whole theme of body recomp, because most people, like we said, are looking to lose fat and build muscle. Not as many people are just looking to lose a ton of fat and that's it. When you lose fat and build muscle at the same time, you look more toned, you look more tight, you look like you've just fully transformed, and it makes such a big difference. And like I said, a lot of things have to be considered for this. He crushed it with Coach Armando, and he's just in such a completely different situation right now, and we're so proud of him. So like I said, if you're looking to do both things at once, we specialize in it. We're more than happy to help you, and we're only going to open a few spots for this dedicated case study. So make sure to send us a message with the keyword body recomp to Instagram, colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT.
All right, we're going to reach back in the mailbag here for our second question, and that is, how do you track your food when eating out? So this is one of my favorite things to talk about, because most people love logging. They get in a flow of it. They're like, this isn't too bad. I understand why it's not so hard. They'll go to a restaurant and they'll say, it was impossible. I couldn't track it. So when you're tracking a food eating out, it really isn't that complicated. So most often, if you're going to a chain restaurant, you can actually Google an advanced nutrition facts. You can look at the menu, and you can actually make a dedicated decision beforehand. And this is something we call pre-logging. So if I'm going to like a major restaurant, I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't really think of one off the top of my head. But like, let's even just say McDonald's for that case. Like, for whatever reason, Kyle's 30th birthday is coming up and he wants to have it at McDonald's. He wants to go to the play place, get rowdy, and just get rambunctious in the play place. And we need to all eat McDonald's with him. I want to go support. I want to be a good sport. It's important to him I eat this McDonald's. So what I can do is I can look up the nutrition facts, look for something that makes sense. Most of it's going to be pretty trash, obviously, and the rest of my day I'm going to have structure around it. But I can pre-punch that in and get an understanding of where I'm at, eat exactly that, and eat it guilt-free. That's the best part. Is this the greatest food in the world that's going to help me grow? Not necessarily, but it also isn't going to take me away from my goals. I can have it fit in, and by doing that in advance, it goes a long way. Now you may say, well, what if I go to this local burger shop I love? So this is where it gets a little more complicated, but I like really just finding comparable. So maybe you get fries at this local burger place and you're like, these fries remind me of Wendy's. Same portion, same size, same texture. You could kind of track a relevant measure of Wendy's fries, like a medium, large, whatever it may be. Then for the burger, you could say, is there a burger that's similar? And if not, the best case is always to break it down. Log a bun, log how much meat of a patty you have, log the ingredients, log the sauces. That is going to be your most accurate way, and you can break down anything in this metric. When eating out, we do recommend adding extra oil and butter. When you're eating out, they want to make it as tasty as possible. So they're not skimping on the oil and the butter. So if I'm like eating a steak, I wouldn't just log an 8-ounce steak. I would also log a reasonable amount of butter and oil. And I always recommend over logging when eating out. So when you're eating out, log a little bit more than you think, and then listen to satiety signals. So if I overlog it, after I finish eating, I'm like, I'm way too hungry, way more past what I normally am. Maybe I could change some of that oil and that butter amount. Maybe I could eat some more vegetables. And I can begin to adjust the numbers as is necessary. But you can do this and absolutely eat out totally guilt-free. The issue you will find is it will take a lot of your caloric budget. When you're eating out, a lot of these things are going to be way more dense than if you eat at home. Like I could probably make a burger on my barbecue for a half or a third of the calories of a place that's loading it with oil and sauces and cheeses. And maybe you log everything and you're like, oh my gosh, Like if you go to Subway, for instance, they actually have calculators where you could build your sub and transfer that exact data to MyFitnessPal. But let's say I do that and I say I'll take mayonnaise, right? And the normal serving size is like a line or 2 lines. I can't remember. And that person just globs it on. They give me 8. It sucks, but I'm going to have to actually change the log for the mayo and add 4. But if I've already pre-logged that sandwich, I could just add extra mayo into that log. And once again, you're never going to get it perfect. There's just no chance. Logging in general is guesstimization. Even actual nutrition labels can be incorrect and they're going to round, and there's going to be a lot going into it. But we're just doing the best we can to account for this data to ensure we have some measure of control. After you've done all of these different tips, I really just recommend the satiety check. So really just making sure you're not stuffed, stopping yourself eating early, maybe only logging or eating a half portion, waiting a bit and seeing how you feel, drinking water beforehand, trying to get extra protein on the side, starting with an appetizer to some degree that's really dense in vegetables, and being honest. Like I love Brussels sprouts when I eat out. If I just log Brussels sprouts, that's a lie, right? That's going to be 100 calories, let's say, but those are just caked in butter and oil once again. And that's why like you need to search fried Brussels sprouts or add the oil and the butter. So just be honest with it. And one thing I like to say, people have a hard time putting the accurate log of what something is, but just know like if you cheat it, you're just cheating yourself, because you're going to be like, oh, I hit my number, I had this thing I liked. And then you're going to weigh in, you're going to be heavier, and you're going to be like, this sucks, this doesn't work, I can't lose weight, logging sucks. But you're the problem in that area. And that's where you just need to be honest with it. Actually spend the time to track and improve, engage. And like, let's say I do everything right. Next day, my weight's way higher. Of course, that could be me having oil and salt later towards night, but maybe also I had way more food than I thought. And every time I weigh in heavy, if I eat a certain thing, maybe I need to increase my log for it. So it's hard to give you tangibles over a podcast, but those are my biggest tips. And I'm really curious what Kyle has as well.
Yeah, I love the whole find a twin tip. Like I remember we used this in a video before, and it was just like Josh said, so for example, anytime I go to a place, if I were to get fries, I just use Swiss Chalet fries just because I feel like I know the serving size quite well, and it's just a good comparable. So it's like, it's cool because you can use all these things, and like I said, it won't be perfect. It could be off a little bit. Sometimes I'd underlog. A lot of times, I would try to overlog as well, just for the safety factor, just to make sure the numbers are accurate. But where most people struggle, I would say, is like Josh said, lying to themselves, but not even intentionally lying to themselves. So like they'll just log, and I'm going to use the example of a chicken shawarma. So when you search on MyFitnessPal chicken shawarma, there's a whole array of different ones on there, ranging from 300 to 800. It's so easy to just click on that like 400 calorie one and just be like, all right, this is it. But I know for a fact most of them aren't in that range. And so what I try to do is build ingredient by ingredient. And then when you do that, the next time you go, especially if you go to the same place, it makes it a lot easier. So shawarma, for an example, I could get garlic sauce, tahini sauce, all this other stuff, and Josh could just get no sauces at all and just make the right choices or choose the better options. And those are going to be very different things. And what I will say is try to still put something in, even if it's not accurate. So it's good for accountability. So for me, logging my burrito bowl every day, when I have to see that if I were to get whatever the sauces they have, like garlic sauce and, just the burrito sauce and all that stuff, and I see it's like 40 plus grams of fat, a couple hundred calories, I just don't want to have it because it's just not worth it. So for us, like we have our staples, which is typically a burrito bowl spot, and we'll log ingredient by ingredient. And you can see, like, especially if you go somewhere consistently, I can see, hey, she uses a cup of rice. All right, next up, we got the broccoli, half cup there, cup there. And you can start to build it on MyFitnessPal, which makes it so much easier. And yes, maybe tomorrow she's feeling a little bit more generous, might make a switch up, but at least it's accurate and to itself, and it can give you some good accountability. So ingredient by ingredient, even though it may seem more complicated up front, will save you a lot of headache down the road, especially when you get results. It makes it so much better. So that's going to be my biggest tip for today.
Yeah, and to Kyle's point, like I love Chipotle. We eat there often. We will eat there often in Florida. So I pre-log it. Like I go on Chipotle's website, I make that bowl, I add it to MyFitnessPal, and I just have it called like Josh's Chipotle bowl or whatever. And then I know that's my bowl. And if I get anything exotic, like I don't usually get sour cream. If I were to have sour cream, I'd log the bowl, add sour cream. If I get a tortilla, I add the extra tortilla. If I get extra steak, I'll just search Chipotle extra steak. And like Kyle said, if I'm like, wow, this person gave me a really big portion, I'll either eat a little bit less or I'll just log it as 1.1, 1.2 of a serving. Like I'll make it an extra 20% on top or whatever. And like I said, this is where eating at home is better because you can bring a scale. Well, you can have a scale, you can measure and weigh things, and it's going to be a million times better. But I've still been able to have a ton of success in a cut by utilizing these tips. So I do hope that's helpful. And if you go somewhere a lot, just have them preset. Like I have my yogurt every day preset. It's easy. From the day before, I just copy it over. And if I change any portion sizes, I can just play with the scale. And I know this sounds really daunting. If you're not logging, you're probably like, this is why I don't log. It's a ton of work. But like I said, it probably is 2 to 3 minutes a day for me at most. So don't let this barrier be the reason you don't see success. Track your food. You'll get results from it.
Yeah, and if you do want our fast food survival guide, we are going to give that away as for free as well. We have a lot of things, so you can see first few links. Basically, if you want that, just message us, fast food guide. We'll send that over. Our mission here is to make things as simple as possible because we know people get anxiety, people get stressed. Like you go to a restaurant and you want to either give up or you want to just go all out, and it doesn't have to be complicated. So we want to give as much value as possible with the Starbucks gift card, with helping you with our one-on-one paid coaching where we guarantee results, and then the fast food survival guide. So make sure to grab that. Just shoot us a message. All the reason to follow us on Instagram because we offer as much value as physically possible. So make sure to get that completely free today.
All right. And for our third and final question, and this will be a great one for Kyle because he's in the thick of it right now. Few months away until my baby comes. Any tips for the early stages with the baby?
Yeah, this was actually from a buddy of mine, and I talked about it on Instagram. So, hey, if you follow us on Instagram, you always get the previews. But here we can just chat, and I love Instagram, but I can only go for sometimes 30 seconds, right? I can give a quick tip. Here I can expand on my thoughts a little bit longer. But I had said to this individual, he's a couple months away, and I had said start building the foundation now. I know he's a guy who does sometimes struggle with consistency within the gym, with habits and everything like that. So I told him that if he just starts to try to do it all and be healthy, like when things are more challenging, it's going to be tough because you're just going to be fighting a bunch of different variables, maybe some less sleep, maybe, having to look after a living little human and whatnot. It's going to be tough. So I had a recent client and he also signed up. So he started in December, his baby's due in March. And he said, I want to be in the best possible shape and I want to have all the habits created by the time the baby comes. And I thought that was so awesome. Like he's been losing over a pound a week with me right now and just absolutely crushing it. But I love that mindset because a lot of people wait until it's too late, essentially, in so many different factors. And I'll use this as a random analogy for Josh's shoulder. If he waited until the time that he had gotten injured to just build these habits to, get to the gym, like, unfortunately, it would just be such a rough, I guess you could say rehab period because he'd be fighting that like, I've got to go. I don't want to go. And it's just like all these different things. Like you're trying to build a habit when things are like, he's so much stronger now. He's built years and years of strength. And that's because he put in all the work up front to make things a lot easier down the road. So that's going to be my biggest health related tip. The other thing is just I'm going to say having that discussion with your partner and just understanding values. So I know sometimes people struggle with this where it's you don't really understand what someone wants and you're always kind of having that fight and that battle of just I want to go to the gym and it's no, you shouldn't go to the gym. So for me it's just about communication and just being straight up. This podcast here, my work, my gym life, everything like that I really value. Your partner could also have the things that they value and their appointments and meetings and whatever the case is. So I would really be upfront with that because I know so many people struggle on their journey because they don't have that discussion. It's always a feeling of guilt and just going to the gym might feel like you're not even able to, and there's always some battles. I hear about this a lot, especially having coached so many people who are trying to be the best version of themselves. So I would say communication will be the biggest thing. Building the habits early on will make such a big difference, and those are my overall top 2 tips for this amazing question.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of going through this twice now and really just honing in on how to optimize this. And I've helped clients with this as well. And with our most recent baby now, who's 9 months, my wife was actually able to get to her pre-pregnancy weight within 3 months, which we're really, really proud of, and transition her in the gym, maintain her strength. We lifted right through the pregnancy intelligently. And the biggest takeaway to me is not making excuses during the baby time, especially if you compare yourself to everyone else. And similar to my shoulder, there's like these general recommendations of time, and people say, don't even move for 3 months. Don't go on a walk. Don't worry about your food. You just had a baby. You have all the time in the world. And it's totally true. You do. And you need to respect these things. But I do find it's very easy to fall into these comfort traps and just accept what everyone else says and just take it super slow. And you kind of get to this point where it's really hard to pull out of it. And you're naturally going to want to be just way more excuse orientated in everything you do, because you're spending so much time, especially if it's your first child, like learning how to adjust, taking care of a child, navigating that schedule, having sleep deprivation, having less opportunity to go to the gym. So everything you've already done becomes that much harder. And it's funny, one of my clients had mentioned that. He said, I wish before I had a kid, I knew how easy I had it. And I just went ultra hard in every direction. But a big part of it is just like understanding these things, having the support for it. Baby first came, we did a lot of meal prep. I really pushed my wife, and something she was okay with and appreciated. So really try to lead and go on a lot of walks, go to the gym, do home workouts, do everything I could to begin that process early. And similar to my shoulder, like a lot of the times they'll say, don't move, be in a sling for like a month. But then I ask like, hey, what's the best case with the physio and the surgeon? I think if you ask different people, especially people that understand the world of lifting, they'll understand that motion is lotion and movement is so important. And every level you get to, every new level, there's another devil. And a baby is a very, very much a new level, because there's so much that encompasses it. Like I said, time, sleep deprivation, stress, change, there's just so much. And I can totally understand that trap of all day you're caring for a baby, you're living life, you're still trying to do these things. Then at night you're like, I just want to lay down, watch TV all night and eat food. And that's where you need to be stronger and say like, I'm going to cook more. I'm going to bring food in. I'm going to go on walks. I'm going to create a gym schedule. I'm going to do workouts at home, even if they're dinky, like whatever it is to get that ball rolling, set goals, be aware of it. And like I said, don't just fall in that trap, because all the time I'd say like a lot of the applications for the coaching are mothers who like are going through craziness that I would never want to do, which is giving birth, caring for a child, feeding, all these crazy things. And it's so demanding. I think that oftentimes, like because so much energy is put into the child, not enough energy is being put into them and their care. And that's where I find mothers can really get left out, because they're doing so much for their family, their children. And that's where having support is so important. Like having a coach on your side. Me and Kyle be like, hey, I know you're busy. I know it's hard with that kid. And I empathize with that, but we need to get our steps in. We need to hit our protein. We need to do better with and that push is just so powerful, and that will actually propel you forward in your journey. So just be real with it. Set some big, scary goals, learn to elevate to that new level. Like, yes, there's discomfort that comes alongside it, but like the reward of it is so good. And one thing I always said to my wife, and I think it motivated her, I'd be like, I'd be like, we're going to eat this healthy thing. She's like, and I'd be like, just think like in a couple months, people are going to be like, wait, you had a baby? And that was always like a fun thing. And now it's been really great having a lot of people be amazed, right? To be like, you have a kid? And we'll be like, we have two. And it's something we're really proud to do. So I think like, find what motivates you in that sense. And even as kids get crazier, I sent Kyle a video. Like my son yesterday would just climb up this play couch thing we had and jump off it, and he'll do it for like an hour, and he'll run in circles for an hour. And like, to me, more than ever, like even my shoulder, I'm like, I need to be healthy, or these kids are going to run me over, because they're just growing, they're getting better, they're getting stronger, and we don't want to be getting weaker. We need to have the energy, the strength, and the self-confidence to match that, as well as the health. So I think it's very important you prioritize health, because if you push it to the side, it's very hard to catch up with health. And that's why that's something I'm really passionate about. So just start doing something, start progressing. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to do everything exactly right. But as long as you're moving in the right direction, you'll get there.
Yeah. And adding on to that, one last thing. So obviously the support from the partner is absolutely huge, but feel free to reach out as well. Like, we're happy to support. Like a gentleman recently at the gym, he reached out to me and he's like, everything I say, whatever I tell them, like it's kind of ruining things. It's a little bit more challenging here. She's not listening as much. And he's like, I need to hire you. Like, let me just, whatever it is, I'm going to take care of it, and I need you to work with her. And she's been crushing it, right? Because having that extra support person to be able to say, hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm unemotionally attached. I'm not sitting there with you like all day kind of making these like, remarks and whatnot to and like I'm helping you outside of like your relationship with your partner there. So while I think that is extremely important to be on the same page, there's definitely nothing wrong. Like we've helped so many amazing new moms, new fathers, like even Ryan Sutton, for example. He's someone that we've shouted out a few times. He is, I think they're coming up on a year, but he was well overweight and he's lost 55 pounds in just over 4 months, and he was struggling and he needed that support. So we're so happy to help some amazing people, especially when we know that it's leading to so much more, like in terms of your energy levels with your kids day to day, with how you feel, your confidence, and all that great stuff. So that's all for today. Make sure to send us a message with the keyword body recomp if you're looking to get guaranteed results, have your life change with our one-on-one guaranteed coaching program. We can't wait to help you, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace and love always.